Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to another episode of the Indigo Womb Wisdom Podcast. I'm your host and sister friend, Shatia T. Owsley, and thank you for watching and or listening. So sit back, grab some tea and a notebook, and let's vibe together as we have organic and practical conversations embracing intuitive womb wisdom, spirituality, and a sprinkle of magic to rebel, restore, and radiate overall wellness in our lives. Hello, everyone. And before we get started, I just want to give a disclaimer. My baby has gotten me sick, but I did not want to cancel this podcast session with this amazing teacher today.
Oh.
And so I am going to rough through this, but you will not be disappointed with who we have today. So welcome back to another episode of the Indigo Womb Wisdom Podcast. I am your host and your sister friend, Shatia T. Owsley. Today, we are joined by a licensed marriage and family therapist, an AASECT certified sex therapist, and visionary healer whose work bridges clinical practice with spiritual depths. She is the owner of New Creation Psychotherapy Services, LLC, a holistic group practice serving the South Atlanta metro area, where she provides integrative mental health care grounded in trauma-informed, transpersonal, and post-traumatic growth frameworks. With over 20 years of experience, she specializes in trauma recovery, sexuality, and reclamation of pleasure, supporting individuals and couples in developing deeper emotional, relational, and embodied awareness. She is also the founder of the Tantric MFT, where her work expands beyond traditional therapy into shamanic Tantra, Reiki, Qigong, heart-centered healing, oracle guidance, and spiritual coaching. Today, I would love to introduce the amazing Dr. Candice. Thank you so
Thank
much for
you.
being here today.
Yes, thank you for having me today. It's such an honor and a privilege to be here. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. You are doing some amazing work, and I'm so
Thank
excited for
you.
this conversation. When we had our initial conversation, I said, "Ooh, Dr. Candice, I want you to talk about all things pleasure today."
Yes, oh yes.
And so before we jump into that, I would love to know how you got started. What made you decide that this was going to be your parent?
Yes, absolutely. It's amazing how spirit guides you in certain ways that you don't even realize you're being guided in. But, as a therapist, I knew in my undergraduate, even high school studies, I was a biochem major in high school because I wanted to be a physician. But then senior year, I'm like, a psychologist came and spoke to our class. I'm like, I think mental health is going to be the thing for me, right? And so people used to make fun of me because I was more reserved and introverted. Still kind of I'm an invert, a little bit of both, extrovert and introvert, but I knew that that was something I could have a passion for. So when I got to college, I started studying more to see what would be a good fit. And, even applying to graduate school to see what was the best niche, which I stumbled upon couple and family therapy, which are already into a world that I already kind of saw things like from a systemic point of view that to me, everything is relational. Everything. My relationship with an animate object is still a relationship. My relationship with my car, my relationship with, alcohol or drug use or, it's a relationship. And so that fit along with having the desire to get into the field of trauma, specifically at the time, solely focusing on domestic violence and sexual survivors of sexual abuse and assault. But then as I got more into my career, I'm like, I think I want to do pretty much all things trauma, because there is not a large, it's becoming more commonplace in mental health space, but a lot of people don't want to go there. I have a lot of colleagues like, you can have that. We will stay where we are because during my master's program, I was the only one that went to a trauma clinic that was a rape crisis center that focused on not just sexual abuse and assault, but also domestic violence. So I was like, this is my thing. This is my jam. And I just do well in being able to co-facilitate a safe space to hold the darkest of pain and stories for spaces that people just don't have. And so then we'll fast forward some years later where I got a reading where the woman, she was a priestess, and she told me, you supposed to be doing, tantric healing work and all that stuff. I said, I have no idea what the heck tantra is, except that you can have sex for hours. I knew nothing about it. And so at this time, I was already embarking on my sex therapist track. I've been a sex therapist, for what, about 10 years now. So, but I was doing that. But then it was the Tantra piece that came a couple years later. And so I was like, okay. And then I got another reading where she said I was operating at my true healing capacity. I'm like, well, I'm a healer, I'm a therapist. She's like, no, we talking about something beyond that. And that's where I started doing some research about tantric practices, doing some research. That was my first stumbling block and trying to understand tantra and how it was healing. So that's where I found Grand Trine with Master Yao. I had some conversations with him, and it was like, okay, this is interesting. Let me start getting some practice in. And I started to actually experience for myself healing, powerful healing moments with people facing their inner child stuff, facing trauma, sexual trauma. One thing that stuck with me when I did another interview with another Tantra facility at the time was that we heal and release pain through pleasure. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I love this. And so that's where I slowly started to integrate. And I understand that people in my community is probably like, what is going on with this girl? Like, is she tripping? Like, what is happening? Like, because I started kind of speaking, like I was speaking a certain way already, but I had the language for what I wanted to do and integrating it into my therapy practice in addition to having my separate spiritual practice. But I found that integrating those concepts in therapy, now getting full blown is a different story, and I can go into that later. But it was just kind of more or less being guided by what spirit was telling me. My ancestors through those priestesses that was like, listen, girl, you are, I forgot what she called me, a sensual goddess. I'm like, what is that? Because she asked, was I going back to school? I said, no, ma'am, I got a doctorate. I'm done. And that's what it's like, no, you need to look up some classes and start studying this for real, like Tantra work. And, then I started incorporating the heart work integration system, which is an amazing system on its own. And Tantra ends and begins in the heart. So my Tantra is really great because of who I am as a heart work practitioner. So, and then it just started building and building and building. And now it just turned into this beautiful butterfly or this lotus, so to say, that's helped me to bridge the clinical with the spiritual in such a way that allows for people to experience things not just from a physical space, but also from a spiritual space and combining those things together.
I love that so much. So,
Mhm.
for those who have a misconception of what
Mhm.
Tantra is, what
Mhm.
is Tantra, Dr. Candice?
Can give it because there's so many different definitions, right? So I can give it from what my lens is and what I've learned, right? So Tantra, literally, the definition is the weaving of things together. And so as a practitioner, I'm finding in my purpose and my journey is that I am taking parts of many different teachings and just, it was all one thing. And I feel like everything got dishuffled, right? So I don't feel like these things compete with each other. They complement each other like pieces of a puzzle. And so with Tantra, and the particular Tantra that I do, because there's many forms, right? We got Neo Tantra, we got Tibetan Tantra, we got Buddhist Tantra, but I do shamanic Tantra. And shamanic Tantra is all based in spirit, right? So we can call it tantric body work, but I don't, it's hard to do energy without spirit. It's just for me, they are intertwined. So Tantra, literally my style of Tantra that I love, because a lot of people do the face to face, the breathing, the staring in the eyes. My form is energetic. And so basically there is me projecting my energy onto the energy field of another. And then we create a container together where I'm holding space for the energy while at the same time engaging with the other person's energy. So that is how, and a lot of people don't see Tantra that way. When I express even this form of Tantra is foreign to people in the Tantra world.
Mhm, mhm.
Yes.
And why do
Yes.
you think that is?
I believe that I've been blessed to be trained by teachers who understood the indigenous functions of tantra, if that makes sense. Neo tantra has kind of taken over, especially here in the West. In the East, I can't speak for that. I haven't been to the East yet. I plan to study and learn more. But in the West, neo tantra is a thing. So it's very, people feel like it's highly eroticized, highly sexualized in a sense from the physicality standpoint, right? But we got the breath work, we got where we can feel the energy, but a lot of it is, to me, and this is from my Dr. Candice's purview, physical. And me, from my experience, it doesn't have a lot of the spiritual and the energetic. And so I remember being in a tantra group for ASEC, my governing body for sex therapists, awareness tantra sit group. I was expressing what I did, and she was like, "Oh, you're a spiritual energetic. That's something else." I said, "Okay, gotcha." And so, but for theirs, it was just like we stare into each other's eyes and we do this, that. So I think that form of tantra, because it's indigenous and it's ancient, it's like foreign for a lot of people. So I find myself having to explain not only what it is, but also what it looks like. And that's why on my social media, I like to post like my different sessions and things that I do to show what it looks like. And I'm seeing more of that now, that type of style. But it's usually all kinds of stuff, spinal energetics, heart chakra and stuff, so it's not specific tantra. So, and I do all of those other things too, and I show those as well. But I also like to show what shamanic tantra looks like.
Mm.
Hopefully that explains it a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. You're also a Reiki practitioner. So, how are the two interconnected?
It's along the same lines. The thing about it is that all of these different, like, because I'm like versed in different modalities, right? And still looking at more, and I add in breath work and pranayama breath and all that. I'm a student, right? They say the best masters are always students. So, and I'm not claiming that as a master. I'm just saying that from that space of they're always willing to learn. And so, like with these different energy, it's the same. It's chi energy, life force energy, Ashe, Holy Spirit, whatever you. Is life force energy that becomes refined. So in tantra work, right, we got sensual and sexual energy as well as healing energy. And Reiki is like healing energy. It's not so much sexual energy. It's just taking the lens or a microscope and changing the lens of the same energy. It's just intentionality. It's something I learned like Spring Force Qigong healing. There's Qi and there's Yi, right? So life force energy, Qi, that's what the ancient Chinese call it, right? The Qi energy, or African, they call it Ashe. We got that energy. The Yi is the intention, is me telling what the energy what to do. So if it's a tantra session, I already know it's going to be more a sexual and sensual energy exchange. And usually the way that I know the difference between it, Reiki and that, even though that's a whole other thing, but I'm often in an orgasmic or aroused state. So, but it's energy, sensual energy. And so the Reiki is I'm just refining it to a different use. Now, sometimes the spirit allows or wants that person to experience some of that energy for healing or breaking some stuff up, then I will use that. And some people like, it shifted. I started feeling aroused all of a sudden. I'm like, yep, sexual energy
Mhm.
or sensual energy. And the beauty of the style that I approach is that I come into it lust. It's not full of lust. It's love. So for me, the tantra, I need it to be lustless. From me as a practitioner, that I move in lustlessness as I sit in that sensual and sexual energy.
Okay. Okay. And
Mhm.
so, when people come to you for healing support, how do you introduce your work to them in a way for them to understand?
Oh yeah, definitely. And especially more on my therapy side, right? Because when they come to the Tantric MFT, they kind of got an idea, even though it might be foreign. Because I get a lot of first timers, which I'm in gratitude for. A lot of first timers who never even heard of it or done it. So I just need their curiosity. Number one, that's all I need. From there, I got it. But if somebody like, but I use my discernment, right? So usually I'll tell them is like, I teach about energy, and that everything to me is energy, right? And then there's life force energy that we all have. All of us have life force energy. All of us are capable of doing the things that I do for others, right? It's just a matter of how we tap in and how we choose to learn about these things. So usually I just share with them about energy work, and there's different types of like refined energy, whether I'm using like the Reiki energy, whether I'm using the sensual sexual energy like Kundalini, right? Whether I'm using the Qigong, straight, Qi energy to assist. So it's just me kind of educating them and also giving them resources, reading and things like look it up for yourself, look up energy work for yourself. And the first way I started, because Reiki is the most common thing, I'm like, think about Reiki. Have you heard of Reiki? They're like, oh yeah, boom, I can go from there. But if they never heard of Reiki, then that's why I got to talk about Reiki and energy and how Reiki could be healing. And so usually what I found in my therapy sessions, I've combined it. So we do a little bit of talk therapy, and if they're open, we'll do a little bit of energy work the last 15, 20 minutes of the session.
Okay.
And I do a lot of heart work as well.
And so, when people think, those who come to you, I know some of them may come with some misconceptions.
Yes.
How do you speak to or explain to someone who may have some misconceptions of what they think that they may be getting when they step in with Dr. Candice?
Absolutely. And so, first and foremost, I even with my forms, depending on which side they come into, right? So now, because I've been establishing myself in the therapy world as the spiritualist and the energetic and all that, that people specifically come to me now for that. But those that have no idea, it's just like I go, like I said, I'm led by spirit in everything I do. So much so that even my body moves on its own. It's just, as my teacher described it, as wu wei, when it comes to the Tao. But it's so even when I'm speaking sometime, I remember having a client, she was just coming for sex therapy, right? Sex therapy to process pleasure. And then boom, I'm just talking about spirit, energetics and tantra. She was like, girl, I don't know what you talking. She's like, you know what? You sold me. Cause she said, at first I didn't know what you was talking about. I was gonna say, never mind. But something was like, explain it to her. And she is one of my best clients. So it's just kind of one of those things where some people may have some like apprehension around it because of what they see in neo tantra, because it's highly eroticized. And there's nothing wrong with eroticism. Eroticism is beautiful. It's just how we use it. Right. And to me, spiritual sexuality and sensuality is spirituality. And I tell them for me, it's one and the same. And so, but for those who are just completely adamant, I don't even touch it. Sometimes it's just straight up talk there. Now, I will introduce some heart work and breath work. That's why I call it somatics, because it is somatic work, being grounded in your body. So it's just seeing which type of somatic work suits you. Some people is straight up heart work, where I have them center and focus on the heart and just see where the journey takes them from there. When it comes to sexual energy and the Tantra, it's very specific clients. And once again, I use my discernment. I call it the heart compass, right? It's just kind of like internally in my heart, I have a physiological response of when I'm in alignment with the client around that and when I'm not. And so my heart clenches up on me, it's like, that is not it. So I'm literally using intuition, spirit to guide me with those clients and to educate, because it's an opportunity to educate, even if they don't want to do it, which is completely fine. I do like to educate.
So you being a sex therapist, I think, I think there.
Yes.
So I would like to dive a little bit into what a sex therapist does and why would
Mhm.
someone come to see a sex therapist?
Absolutely. So sex therapists, we basically treat, I don't like to use pathologizing language, but treat, discuss, talk about, process all things sex, sexual issues. Now we don't, that's one thing I always have to say, because I don't know why people think this with sex therapists. We do not have sex with the clients at all. We don't touch clients. We don't have sex with them. We don't do none of that.
Get
So
them,
I have to
get
make
them
that very
together,
clear.
Dr. Candice. Get them together.
But what we do is help. It's a clinical take on sex. So it might be anorgasmia, it might be erectile dysfunction, it might be, arousal issues, it might be vaginismus or vaginal pain during sex, it might be, libido. It's a lot of things. It might be mismatched desire in couples. So it's clinical take. It's just like mental health. They have clinical diagnosis in the DSM for sex issues, right? Particular ones, but they took certain ones out that were like kink and fetishism and stuff. Those are not pathological things. They're just things outside of the vanilla norm. Because now I'm like, kink educated ally, getting more versed in that space as well, which is also very powerful and helpful work because it is taboo. And because of that, that's why, once again, during the reading, she was like, my rising is in Scorpio, which is interesting because I'm an Aries sun, birthday next week, actually. So it's like, she told me, she's like, you discuss and do and talk about all the things that happen in the dark. So, and that I had to sit with that, So I'm like, you know what? That's absolutely right. Taking uncomfortable conversations and making them comfortable. That's what sex therapists do. Like my supervisor taught me, the doubles in the details. So we did it. What did we do in doing it? Right. Like, and even formal terms, right? Cunnilingus, fellatio. What did we do? How do we do those things? Right. I was actually having a couple sessions earlier where it was kind of like, I taught her a particular method on how to perform fellatio on her husband in a way that was suitable for her and him because she didn't like it as it was. I said, well, I got a technique for you. She's like, it worked, and so it's just kind of one of those things where it's more or less educating, teaching, and it's still clinical and it's looking at it from a place of like diagnosis as well as a place of treatment. So it's an actual treatment plan and everything that
Mhm.
comes with that, but it's in the basis and the topics of sex, whatever the client. So it could be kink BDSM. I get non-monogamous, ethical non-monogamy. I get those situations. It's all things. I felt like a fish out of water when I became a sex therapist because it was a whole new world. Because I had already been a therapist for at least 10, 11 years at the time. But when I got specifically specializing in sex therapy, oh, blew my mind. My first case, small penis humiliation, just for starters. So that by itself was a very challenging case. But we did a lot of great work together for a couple of years, but it was a very challenging case. And my supervisor, I remember her telling me, she was like, you fit the exact mold of what he likes when women humiliate him. Are you comfortable being a sexual object? And I said, you know what? What can I do? You know what I mean? And so I can demonstrate to him a healing relationship, right? For a woman that looks like me, tall, powerful white guy.
Mm.
And he like petite. fair-skinned Black women to humiliate him. I fit the mold. So it was like, so why did you choose me? But we did a lot of powerful work together. But I never heard of small penis humiliation in my life. I'm like, what is this? But it's a form of kink. So it's like talking about those things. And then when we made some headway was when he said, Doc, for the first time, I did not have any sexual thoughts about you because those things come up. I was dealing with that before sex therapy, and I didn't masturbate 10,000 times when I got home. That was progress. That was progress. So he knew how to control it in a way because you spend a lot of money on that. So just, finding ways to ground himself and understand what the issue was because it was also traumatizing. He had body
Mhm.
dysmorphia about his penis, but at the same time, like to be humiliated about it. That was a lot to unpack.
When you decided, well, when spirit decided for you that this is the track that you were going
Yeah,
to
basically.
take, what were some of the things that you had to uncover about yourself to walk this path
Mhm, mhm,
in your own
mhm.
healing? On
Yes. Oh gosh. Yeah. It was a process. Tell you, I'm literally when I say coming out through the other side, like this year is real. I got a therapist. I got a brain spotting therapist. I got did the energy work in. Listen, I got to get my life together. I do my prayers and meditation. I journal. Listen, I do all the works. And so, because you need it, it's real. It's real. And even as across a tantric shaman, right? It's like absorb people's stuff, and I have to release that stuff, right? And so, and I did have to learn, even as a sex therapist, about my sexual self, about my desires, about my like. I literally had an assignment where I had to write a list of all my fantasies. It didn't matter. I couldn't judge myself. Some of the stuff I said, "Well, girl, you not as vanilla as you thought you were." I'm not vanilla at all. I said, "Wow, okay." So I had to sit with that. So I had to sit with that, right, and understand myself sexually too. And I realized, that's what got me into being kink ally, kink and BDSM. I'm like, I am kinky as hell. I got all this stuff, but I had to embrace that and be okay with it, right? That I'm not this vanilla good girl. I had to kind of dismantle some of those things that I learned growing up. Like even in church, like I was the good girl. I was the one that saved herself until she was 18. And I'm proud of I made her boyfriend wait 2, 3 years. I was her. I prided myself on not sleeping with a lot of guys. Like it was just not my thing. But then I felt like in essence, not say I did sleep with a lot of people, but that it in some ways put me in a box that it didn't allow me to fully be who I know to be as a sensual and sexual being. And so with this, as a sex therapist, as a tantric shaman, all that allowed me to create space for myself to be and show up. But I needed to understand for me what did I need to feel safe and what did I need to feel free to fully be. And I'm still working on it because I'm in a new journey where I have to really face these things. And my coach, she's like, you need to look at all this. Like, look at the woman that you are and why and how she came this way, and look at who you're becoming and what do you want that woman to be, not just as a sexual being, but just overall. And then I just been looking at, appreciating like femdoms, like dominatrix, so to say. Their confidence, how they show up, and it's just a beautiful sight. Just the confidence in who they are as women. I love it. So it's just teaching me about how to release and be free within myself with the help of some amazing, like I said, my therapist, good therapists need therapists, and I stand by mine. That girl is the truth, as well as my brain spot therapist, who's also a colleague of mine, where we trade services, so to say. So I do Reiki on her, she do brain spotting on me, which is a remarkable therapeutic tool. I love it, and it works very well with trauma too.
yes. So
Mhm,
I feel like that's a great segue. We live in a patriarchal society, and there's a lot
mhm,
of double standards when it comes to women expressing their sexuality and being sensual and really
mhm.
standing in their pleasure and what it is that they like, right?
Yes.
And if we want to break it down even more, it's even more of a double standard for Black women to really express because we have been so over sexualized
Mhm,
in
mhm.
society. And so I love that you shared your story about what you uncovered about yourself and
Yes,
that
absolutely.
you started to embrace and embody
Mhm,
those
mhm.
things that were so off limits, right? When we were growing
Yes,
up. Because
yes.
I think for a lot of us, we wanted to fit into that mold of the good girl. And so for those who are looking to step out of the box, right?
Mm,
What are some things that they can practically implement into their life just little by
Yes,
little.
yes, yes. And shame is such a grungy thing, right? And I love Brene Brown and her talking about shame and how you starve shame is first and foremost, starving shame is true self-love and true self-acceptance. That's number one. And just being okay with genuinely who you are. And if there's something there that needs tweaking, that's fine. But that's the first thing, right? Secondly, I share that pleasure is our birthright. I always say that. I always say that. That we deserve to have pleasure whenever and however we want it. Right, and then from a place of purpose, not just because, but from a place of purpose, that pleasure is my birthright. I deserve to have pleasure. Thirdly, that I master my own pleasure. A partner, women out here be like, God, I need to get lit. I need some sex. I need to get late. No, girl, you should already feel good in your body. You just add to it. And that's the thing where I say I'm in these states like every day. I feel good in my body already. I already feel good. I feel pleasurable energy in my because it is my own sensual sexual energy that is fueling me. Right, and I can feel when somebody's sending some too, but I know what mine feels like, right? And so helping women, like I got a client now who's in her 60s who's learning about her own body and her own sexual energy, and she's having an amazing experience. And so I'm teaching her, educating her about what's okay, because I get women who also are virgins too, and teaching them about self pleasure, not masturbation. There's a difference between orgasm and ejaculation or climax. There is a difference. And so self pleasure and orgasm like leads to orgasm, right? Orgasm is what I feel throughout my entire being, right? Not just on a physical level, but on a soul level, on a spirit level, right? Ejaculation is center at the space, and then you feel depleted. Orgasms make you feel energized. So I help women, particularly women, because those are the ones who struggle, connect to their body in a way that you're engaging in self pleasure. We're not going right for the clitoris. I'm touching my arms. I'm touching my neck. I'm loving me. I call it self love. Like I don't call it homework. I call it self love work. So it's those things. Pleasure is my birthright. I'm the master of my own pleasure. I am responsible for my own pleasure. And let me experience me before I even share with a partner. I can't tell a partner what I need if I don't know. Right. And then when I master my own pleasure, my partner is possessed by my pleasure. So I don't even have to open my mouth. They just know what to do because they're engulfed in what you have with yourself. That's a huge passion for me, women, and self pleasure, because the pleasure gap is real. We restrict ourselves too much. We see sex as a duty and a task, not something that we want to do. But when I allow the space for women to truly experience themselves and what their bodies can actually do and feel like is beautiful.
Yes. And so one of the things that I would like to point out is many people, they didn't have the talk, right? And the
Hmm.
talk when we were growing up, if there was a talk, if your parents had
Hmm.
one with you, it did not include sex being pleasurable
Mm-mm.
or the
Mm-mm.
sensuality of it, because sex is more than physical. It is
Yes,
emotional, it is spiritual,
yes,
it is
yes,
mental, it is
yes.
all the things connected. And so, how do we approach our preteens and our teens and our young adults
Mhm,
where they
mhm,
are learning the
mhm,
education of the
mhm,
interconnectedness of our bodies
mhm, mhm.
early on?
Absolutely, and I'm having an active learning experience now, right, with my 5-year-old, and so I'm teaching him sex positivity from the jump, right? So,
Um,
like, this puppet, that I have is like a vulva puppet, so he already knows what a vulva is. "Oh, that's a vulva." So when you start young and show that sex is okay to have a conversation about, like, it's just a regular conversation, right? I bought him a book called All About Penises, and so it's like, he's so happy because he's like, "Oh, I have one of those." Like he proceeds to pull his pants down to show me he got a penis. Like, I don't know. I'm like, son, I know you got a penis, baby. I know. That's why we talking about it. But even it talking about like sperm and all, he's like, "Oh, what are these little things?" But when you start them young there, it's like sex is just a regular conversation. And that's what makes it so difficult. Then we get in a relationship and we can't talk about sex outside of sex itself when we're doing it. Outside, "Oh, you good? Okay, yeah, I'm good. Okay, cool." But we're not talking about it in a casual way. And that's why I think where it starts at that age, where my son, like, they got sex positivity for each age. It's a book, and I cannot remember the name of it. Oh goodness, and she's a sex educator, but just educating from a place that we know body parts. That's what we teach when they're young, right? But as we get older, we do talk about all of the sex, the good, the bad, the indifferent, right? And so it's just like sex is pleasurable. Sex is an emotion in motion. Sex is spiritual. Sex is connecting. Sex is beautiful, right? And then on the other side, yes, do we have to be safe? Absolutely. We can't be out here being unprotected. We can't be out here. If something is off with our body, we have to go to the doctor. Let's go on a first date and go to the clinic and make sure we all right. Stuff like that, right? Especially with teens, because we can't negate the fact that that it feels good. We just can't, right? And even when it comes to context in biblical times, people like, oh, I'm especially with my virgin, right? That's late 20s, early 30s. When you look at biblical context, and we're gonna use the Bible, these people was having sex in their teens. When do sexual development start? Fully in your teens. So we placing this here over there. This ain't over here. So we got to look at the whole thing. Sexual development is normal. It's okay to have sexual feelings, like even erections. My son already know. Oh, mom, my penis is big. Yes, you have an erection, son. It might feel good. It might feel funny, And so, but he knows. And so when we do it, then it just makes the conversations less and less difficult as they get older, right? One of my professors, she said her son asked her, "Mom, how do I please a woman?" I thought that was an amazing question because I would completely have that conversation with my son. Most people would think that's awkward as hell. Now I'm not gonna say how to please me. I'm just gonna tell you as a now with my hat, as a sex therapist, I can use that to stand on. But just as a woman in general, she could say the consensus we have an idea, because a lot of men don't know where the clitoris is, and that is amazing to me. So my son, I think about Meet the Fockers, and it's such a funny movie for me because I'm gonna be that one. I'm gonna be that mom embarrassing her son.
Yes,
Like, is your wife having orgasms
me
regularly?
too.
Because I didn't raise no so-so lover. Because listen, you ain't gonna be the son of a sex therapist and you whack. I can't.
You will not, absolutely not be out here, look, embarrassing me.
You better be one of the best. They better say that. And that's just my ego talking. But I'm just saying, but seriously, right? Like, it's because he knows that when I would do workshops for couples, like in churches, they would ask me to come speak about sex in the church space. So, which was quite fascinating at times. And I do a diagram of the vulva, right? And all its things that it has the vagina opening, the clitoris, the gland, even the parts of the clitoris that people have no idea. They just think it's the glands, the one that we see, right? Those poor guys, they didn't know. And I could see the women's faces like, please help us, And so education on even body parts and so, because there's grown men who don't even know the anatomy of the vulva. So, but just educate it, like you make it commonplace. That's what sex positivity is. It's not saying like go out there and go in and no, but usually children who have a sex positive home are more likely to make educated and informed decisions. It's not the blind leading the blind because they peers they don't know, right? So who better than your parents? But because of parents' uncomfortability with talking about sex, of course they're going to be uncomfortable. They can't even talk to each other as the parents about it. So even in the schools, right? We just got to embrace it all. Yes, are there chances for STIs, HIV? Yes, there is. Yes, there is. Absolutely. And we can't miss the fact that it feels good
Yeah.
and it's connecting. We have to
Mhm.
bring it all together, not
Yeah,
from a place of abstinence, abstinence, abstinence. Yeah, that's cool, but that's not the only way.
right. And it's not the reality, really, because if we don't talk to them about it, then they're just going to be misinformed. Yes,
Yes.
I am
Good.
definitely going to be that mom who's like, because I want them to be informed. And then just like you
Hmm.
said, Dr. Candice, your ego be like, I got boys. You're not going to be out here embarrassing me, okay? Okay.
You better know it. Like, come on now. Like, come on. I'm educating you so you know early. You know what I mean? I'm even teaching them the structure of the clitoris. Now that's probably beyond his age right now. I'm gonna have to re-educate because that got a whole thing with that. I'm like, listen, y'all missed this very beautiful and special organ right here.
You got to know what you're doing, sir. You got to know what you're doing with it.
Yes, yes, absolutely, absolutely. So just those little things makes the world of a difference. But when I find that book, I'll definitely send
Please.
it and share. Yes,
Yes, yes. I'm all about
yes,
learning, all about being a
yes,
forever student. And the
absolutely.
sacred.
Hmm.
What are 3 gems
Yes.
you want them to walk away
3
with?
gems. The first one, the pleasure is your birthright. It's okay if you have desires, fantasies, needs that fit outside the vanilla norm. Lastly, truly love, self-acceptance, and true self-love and true radical authenticity. And talk to your kids. Educate, educate, educate. Start them young. So it's not, something foreign as they get older and we're just having birds and the bees conversation. No, this is an ongoing conversation throughout their life.
Yes. Yes,
I
yes.
did 4. Sorry, you said 3.
No, it's okay. We will take all of them. So how can people get in contact with you, Dr. Candace?
Yes, sure. Yeah. So for my therapy practice, it's a newcreationcycletherapy.com. And it's on Instagram, Facebook as a new creation PSY. And then I have the Tantric MFT. So that's the spiritual work, and that I can see anybody anywhere with the Tantra work, right? And that's the tantricmft.com, Instagram and TikTok, and Facebook is at the Tantric MFT. The therapy is just specific to Georgia, unfortunately, because you can only practice in a jurisdiction that you're licensed in. And
Okay.
so those are the contact pieces for that. So I'm available because I'm active on the social media on those pages as well as on the website and things like that. So I'm very in tune. So absolutely. Those who want to work as an internship in the practice, absolutely. As long as it fits the standards for the state, then it is great. And like I said, Tantric MFT is worldwide.
Yes. Oh, I'm so excited. I'm so excited to
Yes,
share this
thank you.
for sure. There's always one question that I ask our guests before we sign off. And that question is, with all of your lived experience and everything that you have seen and what you have been through, what would you tell the little Dr. Candice?
Hmm. Okay, the little Dr. Candace, I would tell her that her voice matters, that her contribution to the world is important, and to never dim her light because it gives other people the permission to shine theirs when she shines.
Dr. Candice, I need you to come
Oh,
back.
I love you
I
guys.
need you to come
Yes,
back
absolutely.
because
Gladly.
yes, I love your teachings. And this is so, so,
Thank
so, so,
you.
so needed, especially
Yes,
in our community for sure. And I
yes,
want to get
yes.
more into the kink and the BDSM. I want you to break
Yeah,
some more
listen.
stuff down for us.
Yes,
Okay.
I'm going down the rabbit holes of now I'm digging in, studying that higher body.
Or back into the
Yes,
community. Thank you for
thank
everyone
you.
who watched this episode. I hope that you walked away with something that you can implement into your life. And please reach out to Dr. Candice.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a blessing.
Absolutely. And we will see you in the next episode. Peace.
Peace, Ashe.